TrumpTube Take 2. After the, to put it mildly, underwhelming from the desk of Donald Trump, the Cheeto Führer is now launching a fully blown social media platform by the name of Truth Social. Now, I admit a certain instinctual aversion to, the name Truth Social, but, well, one should not judge a book by its covers, and there is absolutely a need for a major conservative-friendly social media platform. Truth Social is America's Big Ten social media platform that encourages an open, free, and honest global conversation without discrimination against political ideology. I mean, that sounds awfully nice, doesn't it? It is a bold strategy, a social media platform that doesn't censor the living shit out of everyone that isn't left of Mao Zedong. It is an unorthodox stratagem, but it might just work. Though obviously there are some pretty big problems in the path of Truth Social. First and foremost, the fact that it is going to be a very small challenger up against some very big boys with a lot of very big friends. It is going to need to take on Twitter directly. Facebook slightly less so, because Facebook, much to the chagrin of the Western elites, still allow conservatives to speak, at least most of the time, and that is why Facebook is currently facing a internal coup d'etat, and why we are seeing hearings talking not about Facebook having far too much power, which, spoiler alert, it does, but instead it's Mark Zuckerberg that has too much influence within the company. Oh yes, a ginormous social media platform with millions upon millions, if not billions, of users capable of influencing the direction of elections. That is not a problem. The problem is that the damn bastards who's in charge of it keep saying that he's for free speech. Horrible. Absolutely terrible indeed. And what's worse is, of course, we have seen these challengers appear before, and they tend to get routed not through, well, good old-fashioned competition, but instead via fair play, as was English, as is what happened with Parler, with the accusations that the insurrection was organized on Parler. It turned out that it was actually organized, if you could call random anonymous meeting groups for general orienteering near a rally organization for insurrection, but again, minor insignificant details. It was organized on Facebook. Yet Parler was the one that got yeeted off the internet and is still being regularly blamed to this day. Parler, the far-right social media platform responsible for the violent revolution. Quote unquote. But still, there is a possibility the Trumpalophagus has a very, 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 very large following, and presuming this message can actually reach that following intact, and that's a very large if. Since one of the problems with the desk from the desk of Donald Trump was that essentially it was Donald Trump would write something and then he would rely on people to retweet it. Obviously, he is going to have a fairly large cadre of very dedicated fans willing to spread his words across social media platforms. But then the Twitters of the world decided, hold on a second, we have a blueprint here we can follow to just ban any mention of this. And so they did. There is every chance they're going to try and do the exact same thing here with Truth Social. Now, they do have a fairly significant amount of initial capital. A publicly listed company worth $875 million. And it's got a decent amount of backing. They mentioned some $293 million that are currently in trust to help boost the nascent media and social media networks. So they do have a relatively sizable war chest, but whether or not it'll be enough to take on Silicon Valley, well, that's the question, isn't it? There's also a question about how far they're going to go to try and, knuckle down on this, because Right now, there is a little bit of a civil war going on in the California ecosphere, with the various social media companies trying to attack Facebook and drag Mark Zuckerberg down from the throne, which may lead the old Zuck to be a little bit more friendly towards other potential competitors, which may give him the benefit of the doubt that has so far been quite thoroughly withheld from all the other usual sources. Though, would he be willing to incur the wrath of those who are already at his throat? We'll see, I do suppose. It's going to be a hostile launch. There's no doubt about that. I bet you as well, within days, hell, within hours probably, we are going to see a lockstep media press. We are going to see TVs, we are going to see all of the stations, we're going to see social media in general condemn this. Donald Trump, the far-right insurrectionist leader, coming back to try and, I don't know, steal the country, I guess? No, what's the usual buzzwords these days? Oh yes, Donald Trump, he who quotes election misinformation. Now, I'm of course not allowed to repeat any of these claims because I'm on YouTube. Another reason why we kinda need a social media like this. And here's another thing as well, and I kind of mentioned this the last time we talked about TrumpTube, because as great a need as there is for this, and as dodgy it is whether or not it will even be allowed to live in the first place, this does need to be a platform that genuinely does back up these ideals, encouraging an open, free, and honest global discrimination. I mean, hell yeah, kinda. Global conversation without discrimination against political ideology. We do need that, though. My stance have hardened a little bit on this point. Whilst you do need some set of rules, you do also need some form of enforcement against, well, straight up bad faith actors, essentially. You are going to have to moderate this platform pretty damn heavily, at the very least initially, to weed out the most, incendiary of infiltrations, as anything and everything will be used against this site to try and take it down, and this will come from both sides as well. I would not be at all surprised if the various media organization will go through it with a fine-tooth comb, trying to find any kind of far-right activism and then condemning the entire platform. Now, as we've seen previously, these people are far from ethically sound, shall we say, and they will more than happily simply fabricate evidence if they need to, but there's no need to give them any ammunition initially. There probably also will need to be a little bit of a control system, at the very least for the first few months. Now, initially this will be opening into a kind of limited beta state, which I think is a very good idea, both to ensure that the servers aren't immediately overloaded, and also to try and kind of get a little bit of an ecosystem going before the general launch. Bring on some high-profile individuals that you are relatively sure won't create too much of a stir, and then open the gates to the ravenous hordes of lefty journalists later, as they all swarm to Donald Trump's brand new Twitter account, essentially, to virtue signal beneath every one of his posts so that they can screenshot it and send it to all of their friends. Look at me, I'm standing up to the dictator that we voted out of office. I'm interested in seeing where it goes. I don't know, I see. The thing is, I'm also kind of worried that we have reached the point now, due to the failure of actually using antitrust legislation effectively for what it was supposed to do, avoiding companies growing ginormous and essentially being able to outcompete anything and everything through sheer bulk, that Twitter, Facebook, Google, Alphabet, YouTube, can there actually be a realistic competitor to any of these platforms now? Can there ever be a realistic competitor to YouTube, which already controls, what, 2/3 of the planet's population? 2 billion monthly users? I guess we'll have to wait and see, though I'm starting to get a little bit black-pilled on this. I really do think, see, the entire idea of antitrust legislation was to avoid precisely this scenario where we have one company or a handful of companies controlling almost everything, and never before have we had companies this powerful, even if they don't do anything to actively shut it down. Will Truth Social have access to enough capital to keep running, to keep growing, to keep competing for the decade or more it's going to take to even get within rocket's launch of the other competitors? I suppose we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Do let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and of course remember to like the video, as I shall try to endeavour to remember to be cringe from occasion to occasion. What is it they say again? Ah yes, smash that like button. There you go. I suppose I should start the video with that, but again, minor insignificant details. Until next time, I've been Arch, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.